The grease from tonight's burger special still clings to my fingers as I wipe down the counter for the third time. It's past midnight at Frankie's Bar and Grill, and the only customers left are two drunks arguing about the Red Sox, and a woman in her 70s who tips me $100 just for keeping her coffee warm. I'm Jason Mitchell, and 6 months ago, I owned a small construction company. Now I flip burgers and pour drinks while my wife sleeps with her coworker in hotels I can't afford. The irony isn't lost on me. Laura used to complain that I smelled like sawdust and paint. Now I smell like French fry oil and desperation. At least the sawdust was honest work. My phone buzzes. A text from my 12-year-old daughter, Beth. Dad, why did Uncle Scott pick up Mom from school today? She said you were working, but you don't work at the office anymore. Uncle Scott, that's what Laura told the girls to call him. Scott Brennan, senior associate at Hartwell and Associates, where my wife recently made partner. Scott with his BMW and his gym membership and his teeth so white they could guide ships to shore. Scott, who's been helping Laura through this difficult transition while I serve chicken wings to people who knew me when I had dignity. I text Beth back, just helping out, sweetheart. See you Saturday. But my hands are shaking as I type it, because Laura told me she had a late client dinner tonight. She's been having a lot of those lately. The elderly woman at table 6 waves me over. She's been coming in every Tuesday for months, always orders the same thing, black coffee and apple pie. Never talks much, but tonight, she's studying me like I'm a puzzle she's trying to solve. You look just like him, she says as I refill her cup. Like who, Mrs. Voss? Someone I knew a long time ago. Her eyes are sharp, despite her age. Someone who got dealt a raw hand but played it better than anyone expected. I don't know what to say to that, so I just nod and walk away. But something about the way she said it sticks with me as I close up the restaurant. The drive home takes me past the Marriott downtown. Laura's car is in the parking lot. So is Scott's BMW. I sit in my beat-up Ford for 10 minutes, engine running, watching the lit windows on the 4th floor. Room 412. I can see the number from here, because Scott was stupid enough to post a photo on Instagram last week from a business dinner, and the room number was visible on the key card sitting on the table. I could go up there, kick down the door, make a scene. But that's what the old Jason would have done. The one who solved problems with his fists and his voice. The one who lost his business because he couldn't keep his mouth shut when clients tried to cheat him. Instead, I get out of my car and walk over to Scott's BMW. The key card from Laura's gym bag, the one I found last week and didn't say anything about, is still in my jacket pocket. I drag it along the driver's side door, leaving a long, deep scratch in the pristine paint. Then I slip a note under his windshield wiper. Hope she's worth the deductible. My phone rings as I'm driving away. Laura, we need to talk. Now. It's 1 a.m, Laura. I don't care what time it is. Come home. We need to discuss some things. The house, our house, though the mortgage is in her name now, sits dark except for the kitchen light. Laura's waiting at the table, still in her work clothes, but her hair is messed up and her lipstick is gone. She looks guilty and angry at the same time, which is quite an accomplishment. Where were you tonight? She asks. Working. Same place I've been working every night for the past 4 months. Don't lie to me, Jason. Someone vandalized Scott's car. Someone who knew exactly where to find it. I sit down across from her, noting how she doesn't even pretend she wasn't with him. Maybe Scott has other enemies. Guys like him usually do. Guys like him? Rich, arrogant. The type who thinks other people's wives are just another acquisition. Laura's face hardens. Is that what you think this is about? I think this is about you screwing your coworker while I work nights to pay for our daughter's school supplies. The slap comes fast, but I see it coming. I don't move to block it. The sting feels almost good, at least it's honest. I want you out, she says. Pack your things and get out of my house. Our daughter's. My house. I'm the one paying for it, and the girls will be better off without watching you drink yourself into self-pity every night. That's not fair, and she knows it. I've had maybe 3 beers since I lost the business. But fairness isn't something Laura deals in anymore. Fine, I say, but I want to see Beth and Janie every weekend. We'll see. Those 2 words chill me more than the slap did. Because Laura's a lawyer, and lawyers don't say we'll see unless they're planning something. I pack my clothes in garbage bags. Laura wouldn't let me take the good suitcases, and drive to the Riverside Motel, where the weekly rate is cheap and the bedbugs are free. The room smells like cigarettes and broken dreams, but it's mine. My phone buzzes with a notification. Scott posted on Facebook, "Some people have no class. Cowards who can't handle their problems like adults." The post has 6 likes already. I comment, "Some people can't handle their car doors like adults either. Maybe invest in parking lessons with all that lawyer money." 20 minutes later, Laura calls. "Delete that comment right now, or what? Or you'll never see your daughters again." She hangs up before I can respond. I stare at my phone for a long time, then delete the comment, but I screenshot it first. The next morning, I'm back at Frankie's for the breakfast shift. Frankie Torino owns the place, used to run a boxing gym before his knees gave out. He's got arms like tree trunks and a heart bigger than his gut, which is saying something. "You look like hell," he says as I tie on my apron. "Feel worse than I look." Wife troubles? Ex-wife troubles. She kicked me out last night. Frankie nods like he's been expecting this. "My ex-wife left me for a dentist. Said I wasn't ambitious enough." You know what I told her? "What?" I said, "Honey, I hope he's better at filling cavities than I was." Took her 3 days to figure out what I meant. Despite everything, I laugh. It feels good. The breakfast crowd is the usual mix of construction workers, retirees, and people who work night shifts. But there's someone new. A woman about Laura's age, blonde, expensive clothes. She looks out of place among the vinyl booths and laminated menus. She orders coffee and eggs over easy, then watches me like I'm performing surgery instead of cooking breakfast. When I bring her food, she smiles. "You're Jason Mitchell, right, Laura's husband?" Ex-husband, apparently. "I'm Claire Barnett. I work with Laura at the firm." I know who she is. Laura's mentioned her. The shark who handles the nastiest divorce cases. The one who once got a client half of her husband's business, even though she'd been cheating for 3 years. "What do you want?" I ask. "Just to talk. Laura's concerned about your behavior lately." My behavior? The vandalism, the social media comments. She thinks you might be having some kind of breakdown. I lean against her table, close enough to smell her expensive perfume. "Lady, if I was having a breakdown, you'd know it. This is just me getting started." Claire's smile doesn't waver. "Laura wants to help you, Jason. She's willing to be generous in the divorce settlement if you don't make things difficult." "How generous? Supervised visitation with your daughters? Maybe a small monthly payment to help with rent? Supervised visitation for what? I've never touched those girls with anything but love. But you have been drinking. And you did vandalize someone's property, and your financial situation is unstable." The coffee cup in my hand is getting warm, but I don't set it down. "Tell Laura if she wants to play games, I know how to play too." Claire stands up, leaves a 20 on the table. "Just think about it, Jason. Don't make this harder than it has to be." After she leaves, Frankie comes over. "Friend of yours?" "Lawyer. Same thing as a vulture, except vultures wait until you're dead." That afternoon, I drive to Beth and Janie's school for pickup. It's my day, according to the schedule Laura and I worked out. But when I get there, I see Scott's BMW in the parking lot. He's standing with Laura by the playground, talking to other parents like he belongs there. Beth runs over when she sees me. At 12, she's starting to look like her mother, but she's got my stubborn streak. "Dad, are you coming to dinner tonight?" "What dinner?" "Mom said Uncle Scott is making his famous pasta. She said you might come." I look over at Laura, who's watching us with an expression I can't read. Scott's got his hand on her lower back, casual as anything, like he's marking territory. "Maybe next time, sweetheart. I've got to work." "You're always working now. That's what dads do." But Janie, my 8-year-old, isn't buying it. "Mom says you're sad because you lost your job and that's why you can't live with us anymore." The words hit harder than Laura's slap, because they're coming from my daughter and because there's enough truth in them to hurt. "Mom says a lot of things," I tell her, "but I love you girls more than anything in the world. That's never going to change." Scott walks over, all smiles and confidence. "Jason, good to see you, man. How's the restaurant business treating you?" He says it loud enough for the other parents to hear, loud enough to make sure everyone knows that Jason Mitchell, who used to run his own company, is now slinging hash for tips. "Can't complain," I say. "Honest work. Absolutely. Nothing wrong with service industry jobs. Very grounding." I want to hit him. The urge is so strong my hand actually clench into fists. But Beth is watching and Janie is holding my leg, and I won't be the dad who loses it at school pickup. "Girls, go get in Uncle Scott's car," Laura says. We need to get going. But I want to ride with Dad, Janie protests. Not today, honey. Dad has to work. I watch them drive away in Scott's BMW. My daughter's in the back seat of another man's car, and something cold settles in my chest. Something that feels like the opposite of love. That night at Frankie's, Mrs. Voss comes in again. Same table, same order, but tonight she's got an envelope with her. I've been thinking about what I said yesterday, she tells me as I serve her pie. About you looking like someone I knew. Yeah? His name was David Mitchell. He was about your age when I knew him. Had the same eyes, same stubborn jaw. My father's name was David Mitchell. He died when I was 15, heart attack at a construction site. But I don't remember my mother ever mentioning anyone named Voss. David was special to me a long time ago. Before I married my husband, before you were born, we were going to run away together, start fresh somewhere new. She slides the envelope across the table. But my brother found out about us. He told David that I was just playing with him, that I'd never leave my comfortable life for a construction worker. He told me that David was seeing other women, that he was just using me. Were either of those things true? No, but we believed them. We were young and stupid, and we let other people's lies destroy something beautiful. I don't open the envelope. Mrs. Voss, why are you telling me this? Because David wrote me letters. For 30 years after we broke up, he wrote me letters. I never answered them. I thought he'd moved on, gotten married, forgotten about me. But he never forgot. Her eyes are bright with tears. I found out after he died that he never married anyone else, never had children with anyone else, just you and your sister from a woman who left him when you were small. That part is true. My mother took off when I was 10, left Dad to raise us alone. The letters are in there, she says, nodding at the envelope, along with something else, something that should have been his and now should be yours. She stands up, leaves her usual $100 tip, and walks out. I don't see her again. I don't open the envelope until I get back to my motel room. The letters are there, dozens of them, written in my father's careful handwriting. Love letters, apology letters, letters describing his life and asking about hers. The last one is dated 2 weeks before he died. Eleanor, it says, I know you'll never read this, but I want you to know that losing you was the biggest mistake of my life. Not because of what you had, but because of who you were. I hope you found happiness. I hope someone loved you the way I wanted to. At the bottom of the envelope is a business card for a lawyer named Abraham Gold and a note in Mrs. Voss's handwriting. Mr. Gold has something for you. Something I should have given your father years ago. I call the number the next morning. Gold's office is downtown, not far from Laura's firm. He's waiting for me with a stack of papers and an expression like he's about to deliver news that will change my life. Mrs. Voss died yesterday, he says without preamble. Heart attack in her sleep. She was 91. I feel a strange sadness for the old woman who tipped me $100 bills and told me stories about my father. She left you something, Mr. Mitchell. Something substantial. He slides a document across his desk. It's a will dated 6 months ago. Eleanor Voss has left me her house, her investments, her art collection, and $43 million. This is a mistake, I say. No mistake. Mrs. Voss was very specific. She said your father was the only man who ever loved her for who she was, not what she had. She said she owed him a debt that could never be repaid, but she could try to pay it to his son. I stare at the numbers on the page. $43 million. More money than I could spend in 3 lifetimes. There are conditions, Gold continues. You can't tell anyone about the inheritance for 6 months. Mrs. Voss was very specific about that. She said you'd understand why when the time came. I think about Laura, about Scott, about Claire Barnett and her threats of supervised visitation, about my daughters riding in another man's car. I understand, I say. The next few weeks pass in a blur of paperwork and planning. I keep working at Frankie's, keep living in the motel, keep playing the part of the broken ex-husband, but inside something is changing. Something cold and calculating that I've never felt before. Laura files for divorce, asking for full custody and alimony. She claims I'm unstable, unemployed, and living in substandard conditions. She wants the house, the savings account, and everything else we built together. I hire my own lawyer, not Abraham Gold, who's handling the inheritance, but a scrappy family attorney named Rita Santos, who works out of a strip mall and charges half what Claire Barnett does. They're playing hardball, Rita tells me, after reviewing Laura's filing. But we can fight this. You've got no criminal record, no history of mistreat. Being poor isn't a crime. What are my chances of getting joint custody? Honestly, 30%. Maybe 40 if we can prove she's been having an affair and neglecting the children. Can we prove that? Do you have evidence? I think about the hotel keycard, about Scott's social media posts, about the times Beth has called me because Laura was working late, and the girls were home alone. Maybe. That weekend, I take Beth and Janie to the park. It's one of the few places where we can be alone, where Scott doesn't show up with his fake smile and expensive clothes. Dad, Beth says as we're pushing Janie on the swings, are you and Mom getting divorced? There's no point in lying. She's 12, old enough to understand that her world is falling apart. Yeah, sweetheart. We are. Is it because of Uncle Scott? It's because your mom and I can't live together anymore. Sometimes that happens with grown-ups. I don't like Uncle Scott, Janie announces from the swing. He smells like that stuff Mom puts in her hair, and he talks to us like we're babies. He's not going to be our new dad, is he? Beth asks. The question hits me like a punch to the gut, because I can see it in her eyes. The fear that she's going to lose me, that Scott is going to take my place completely. No one will ever be your dad except me, I tell her. No matter what happens, no matter where I live, I will always be your father. But even as I say it, I wonder if it's true. Laura's got the money, the house, the stable job. I've got a motel room and a job flipping burgers. In the eyes of the court, which one of us looks like the better parent? That night, I drive past the house, my old house, and see Scott's BMW in the driveway. The lights are on in the master bedroom, and I can see shadows moving behind the curtains. I park across the street and wait. Around midnight, Scott comes out, gets in his car, and drives away. He's not spending the night yet, but it's only a matter of time. The next morning at Frankie's, I'm serving breakfast when Claire Barnett walks in again. This time she's not alone. She's got Scott with her. They sit at a corner booth and order coffee. I can hear them talking in low voices, and I catch enough words to understand what's happening. They're planning something about documentation and evidence of instability. When I bring their coffee, Scott smiles at me like we're old friends. Jason, how are you holding up, buddy? Can't complain. That's the spirit. Laura's worried about you, you know. She thinks this whole situation is harder on you than you're letting on. Laura's always been thoughtful that way. Claire laughs. She really is. It's one of the things that makes her such a good mother. She always puts the children first. The implication is clear. Laura puts the children first. I don't. Speaking of the children, Scott says, Beth mentioned that you've been asking her questions about me, about when I pick them up from school, things like that. I set down the coffee pot carefully. I ask my daughters about their day. That's what fathers do. Of course. But Laura's concerned that you might be, well, using the girls to spy on her. That's not healthy for them, Jason. You know what's not healthy for them? Having their mother's boyfriend lecture their father about parenting. Scott's smile falters. Claire jumps in smoothly. No one's lecturing anyone, Jason. We're just concerned for everyone involved. I appreciate your concern. Now, can I get you anything else, or are you just here to threaten me? Threaten you? Claire looks genuinely surprised. Jason, no one's threatening you. We're trying to help. Help me what? Disappear? Help you transition to a new role in your daughter's lives. One that's less central. There it is. The truth finally out in the open. I lean down close enough to smell Scott's expensive cologne. Let me tell you something, Scott. I've been Beth and Janie's father for 12 years. You've been around for what, 6 months? You think you can just slide into my place because you've got money and a nice car? Jason, Scott starts, but I cut him off. I'm not done. You want to play house with my wife? Fine. You want to sleep in my bed and eat at my table? Whatever. But those girls are mine. They'll always be mine. And if you think you can push me out of their lives, you're going to find out just how wrong you are. The restaurant has gone quiet. Every customer is watching us now. Is that a threat? Claire asks, pulling out her phone. It's a promise. I walk away before either of them can respond. But I can hear Claire talking quietly into her phone, and I know she's documenting everything I just said. Frankie finds me in the kitchen 10 minutes later. You okay, kid? No, I'm not okay. Want to talk about it? They're trying to take my daughters away from me. Frankie nods slowly. He's been through his own divorce, lost his own kids to an ex-wife who thought he wasn't good enough. What are you going to do about it? I don't know. Well, when you figure it out, you let me know if you need help. I've got some experience with people who think they're better than they are. That afternoon, I drive to Mrs. Voss's house, not my house now, though no one knows it yet. It's a Victorian mansion on the hill overlooking the river, with gardens and a three-car garage, and more space than one person could ever need. Abraham Gold meets me there with the keys and a folder full of documents. The house is yours, free and clear, he says. No mortgage, no liens, Mrs. Voss paid cash for it in 1987. We walk through rooms filled with antique furniture and original paintings. The kitchen alone is bigger than my entire motel room. There is something else, Gold says as we stand in the master bedroom. Mrs. Voss left instructions for you. She said when you were ready to stop hiding, this house would be your weapon. My weapon? She was very specific about that word. She said your father spent his whole life being pushed around by people who thought they were better than him. She didn't want the same thing to happen to you. I look out the bedroom window at the view of the city below. Somewhere down there, Laura's planning my destruction. Scott is measuring my daughters for a new father. Claire Barnett is building a case to prove I'm unfit to be a parent. They think I'm beaten. They think I'm just another blue-collar guy who can't compete with their money and their connections and their legal expertise. They have no idea what's coming. The custody hearing is set for 3 weeks away. Rita Santos does her best, but we both know we're fighting an uphill battle. Laura's got witnesses who will testify that I've been erratic and threatening. She's got financial records showing that I can barely afford my motel room. She's got a stable home environment with Scott, who's willing to be a positive male role model for my daughters. I've got a job flipping burgers and a history of losing my temper. The night before the hearing, I sit in my motel room and make a decision. I call Abraham Gold. I'm ready to stop hiding. Are you sure? Once we announce the inheritance, there's no going back. Everyone will know. Everyone's going to know anyway. Might as well be on my terms. The next morning, I show up to the courthouse in a new suit, driving a car I rented for the occasion. Nothing too flashy, just something that doesn't scream failure. Rita looks surprised but doesn't ask questions. Laura's there with Claire Barnett and Scott, all of them looking confident and professional. They barely glance at me as we take our seats. The hearing starts badly. Claire presents evidence of my unstable living situation and erratic behavior. She calls witnesses who testify that I've been drinking, that I threatened Scott, that I'm not providing a suitable environment for children. Rita does her best to cross-examine, but the damage is clear. When it's our turn to present our case, she calls me to the stand. Mr. Mitchell, can you tell the court about your current living situation? This is it, the moment of truth. Your Honor, I've been living in a motel for the past few months while I dealt with some financial issues. But that situation has recently changed. Claire looks up from her notes, sensing something different in my tone. How has it changed? Rita asks. 3 weeks ago, I inherited a house and a substantial sum of money from a family friend. I'm now in a position to provide my daughters with a stable, comfortable home. The courtroom goes quiet. Laura's staring at me like I've grown a second head. Scott looks confused. Claire's frantically scribbling notes. Can you be more specific about this inheritance? The judge asks. I hand Rita a folder of documents that Abraham Gold prepared. She passes them to the judge, who reviews them with growing interest. Mr. Mitchell, according to these documents, you've inherited $43 million and a house valued at over $2 million. Is that correct? Yes, Your Honor. Laura actually gasps. Scott's face has gone white. Claire is whispering urgently into her client's ear. Your Honor, Claire stands up, we object to this last-minute revelation. There's been no disclosure of these assets during discovery. The inheritance was finalized after discovery ended, Rita responds smoothly. We're providing full documentation now. The judge studies the papers for several long minutes. Mr. Mitchell, why didn't you mention this inheritance earlier in the proceedings? The benefactor requested that I keep it private for 6 months, Your Honor. I respected her wishes until it became clear that my daughter's welfare was at stake. It's a good answer. Respectful, but protective. The judge nods approvingly. Mrs. Barnett, do you need time to review these documents? Claire looks like she's been hit by a truck. Your Honor, Yes, we need time to review and verify these claims. Very well, we'll recess for 2 hours. As soon as the judge leaves, Laura rushes over to me. $43 million? Jason, where did this come from? A family friend, someone who knew my father. Why didn't you tell me? I look at her, really look at her. For the first time in months, she's beautiful, successful, everything I thought I wanted when we got married. But there's something cold in her eyes, something calculating that I never noticed before. When exactly should I have told you, Laura? When you were kicking me out of the house? When you were threatening to take my daughters away? When you were screwing Scott in hotel rooms? She flinches. We weren't. Don't lie to me, not now. Scott appears at her shoulder, trying to look supportive, but mostly looking like he's about to throw up. This doesn't change anything, he says. Money doesn't make you a better father. You're right, I tell him, but it makes me a better option than a guy who's sleeping with someone else's wife. Claire pulls Laura aside for a heated conversation. I can't hear what they're saying, but I can see Laura shaking her head, looking panicked. When we reconvene, the judge has clearly made up his mind. After reviewing the evidence and the new financial disclosures, I'm awarding joint custody to both parents. Mr. Mitchell, you'll have the children every other week, plus alternating holidays. Mrs. Mitchell, the same arrangement applies to you. Laura looks like she's been slapped. This isn't what she wanted at all. Your Honor, Claire tries one last time, we're still concerned about Mr. Mitchell's emotional stability. Mrs. Barnett, Mr. Mitchell has shown remarkable restraint throughout these proceedings. He's secured stable housing and demonstrated financial responsibility. Unless you have evidence of actual damage to the children, I see no reason to limit his parental rights. The gavel comes down with a sound like thunder. Outside the courthouse, Laura catches up with me as I'm walking to my car. Jason, wait, we need to talk. I think we've talked enough. This inheritance, it changes things, does it? We could try again, work things out for the girls. I stop walking and turn to face her. Laura, 6 hours ago, you were trying to prove I was an unfit father. Now that you know I have money, you want to work things out? It's not about the money, isn't it? She doesn't answer, which is answer enough. Where's Scott? I ask. We're taking a break to figure things out. How convenient. I get in my car and drive away, leaving her standing on the courthouse steps. In the rearview mirror, I can see Scott's BMW pulling up to collect her. That night, I move into Mrs. Voss's house. My house. I call Beth and Janie to tell them they'll be staying with me next week, and the excitement in their voices makes everything I've been through worth it. But I'm not done yet. Not even close. Over the next few weeks, I settle into my new life. I quit the job at Frankie's, though I keep going there for coffee and to talk with Frankie about old times. I enroll the girls in a better school closer to the house. I hire a housekeeper and a landscaper and start making the place feel like a home. Laura tries to call several times, but I don't answer. She shows up at the house once, but I don't let her in. She can see her daughters during her custody time, but she and I have nothing to discuss. Scott, meanwhile, seems to have disappeared from the picture entirely. His social media goes quiet. He stops showing up at school events. When I ask Beth about him, she just shrugs and says, Mom doesn't talk about Uncle Scott anymore. I'm starting to think the story is over when Claire Barnett calls. Jason, we need to meet. We don't need to do anything. It's about Laura. She's in trouble. What kind of trouble? The kind that could affect your daughters. Meet me at my office in an hour. Against my better judgment, I go. Claire's office is everything I expected. Expensive furniture, diplomas on the walls, and books that look like they've never been opened. Laura's been suspended from her firm, Claire says without preamble. For what? Billing irregularities. It seems she was charging clients for time spent on personal activities. Personal activities? Hotel rooms with Scott, long lunches that were billed as client meetings. The partners found out and launched an investigation. I sit back in my chair. How bad is it? Bad. They're talking about filing a complaint with the Bar Association. She could lose her license. And you're telling me this why? Because she's broke, Jason? The house is mortgaged to the hilt. Her credit cards are maxed out. She's been living beyond her means for years, and now it's all falling apart. I think about Laura's designer clothes, her expensive car, the renovations she insisted on making to the house. I always wondered how we could afford it all on my construction income and her associate's salary. She wants to sell the house, Claire continues, but she needs your signature on some of the paperwork, community property laws. And in return, She's willing to give you full custody of the girls. There it is. The thing I wanted most in the world, offered to me because Laura has no other choice. I need to think about it. Don't think too long. The bank is starting foreclosure proceedings next week. I drive home slowly, taking the long way around the lake. The sun is setting over the water, painting everything gold and red. It's beautiful and peaceful, and for the first time in months, I feel something like happiness. But it doesn't last long. When I get home, Beth and Janie are waiting for me in the kitchen. They look upset. Dad, Beth says, Mom called. She's crying. She says we might have to move away, Janie adds. She says she can't afford to live here anymore. I sit down at the kitchen table and pull both girls close to me. What do you want? I ask them. If you could choose where to live, what would you choose? With you, Beth says immediately. But we don't want Mom to be sad. We want to live with you and visit Mom, Janie says, like we do now, but backwards. Smart girls. They've figured out that their world is changing, and they're trying to find a way to keep everyone they love in it. That night, after the girls are asleep, I call Laura. Claire told me about your job. She's quiet for a long moment. When she speaks, her voice is small and defeated. I messed up, Jason. I messed up everything. Yeah, you did. The girls, they're going to hate me. No, they're not. They love you. But they need stability, and right now, I'm the one who can give them that. I know. I'll sign the papers for the house sale, but I want full custody with generous visitation for you. And I want you to get help, therapy, financial counseling, whatever you need to get your life back together. Why would you do that for me? It's a good question. 6 months ago, I would have said it was because I loved her. Now, I'm not sure what the answer is. Because you're the mother of my daughters, and because everyone deserves a second chance. The paperwork takes 3 weeks to finalize. Laura moves into a small apartment across town, gets a job with a different law firm, a step down from her old position, but honest work. She sees the girls every other weekend, and one night during the week. Scott, I hear through the grapevine, moved to Boston and got engaged to a paralegal. Laura never mentions him, and the girls seem to have forgotten he ever existed. Things settle into a new normal. The girls thrive in their new school. I start a small investment firm, using Mrs. Voss's money to help other people build their own wealth. Laura and I develop a cordial relationship focused entirely on our daughter's welfare. It should be enough. It should be a happy ending. But there's one more thing I need to do. 6 months after the custody hearing, I get a call from an unknown number. Is this Jason Mitchell? Yes. This is Detective Maria Santos with the Financial Crimes Unit. We're investigating some irregularities at Hartwell and Associates, your ex-wife's former firm. We understand you were married to Laura Mitchell during the time period we're looking at. That's right. We'd like to ask you some questions about your knowledge of her billing practices and client relationships. I could say no. I could claim ignorance, protect Laura for the sake of our daughters. But I think about the hotel keycards, the lies, the way she tried to take my children away when she thought I was weak. I'll help however I can. The investigation takes another 6 months. It turns out Laura's billing irregularities were just the tip of the iceberg. The firm had been running a sophisticated scheme to overbill clients, inflate expenses, and hide money in offshore accounts. Laura wasn't the mastermind, but she was a willing participant. When the indictments come down, 12 lawyers are arrested. Laura isn't among them. She cooperated with investigators and testified against the partners in exchange for immunity. But her legal career is over. The Bar Association revokes her license, and no firm will hire her. She ends up working as a paralegal for a personal injury lawyer, making a third of what she used to earn. I could feel sorry for her. Maybe I should. But when I think about the custody hearing, about Claire Barnett's threats, about my daughters asking why Daddy couldn't live with them anymore, I feel something else entirely. Justice. The final chapter comes on a cold December evening. I'm at home with Beth and Janie, helping them with homework, when the doorbell rings. It's Laura, standing on my doorstep with a suitcase and tears in her eyes. I got evicted, she says. I don't have anywhere else to go. Behind her, I can see her car loaded with boxes and bags. Everything she owns, reduced to what fits in a Honda Civic. What about your parents? They won't take my calls. They're embarrassed about the investigation, the news coverage. They think I brought shame on the family. I look at her, really look at her, and see someone I barely recognize. The confident, successful lawyer is gone. In her place is a woman who looks older than her years, worn down by consequences she never saw coming. Please, Jason, just for a few weeks until I can find something else. I could say no. I could point out that she made her choices and now she has to live with them. I could remind her of all the ways she hurt me, all the times she put her own desires ahead of our family. Instead, I step aside and let her in. You can stay in the guest room, but this is my house, and these are my rules. You're here for the girls, not for me. She nods, grateful and humiliated in equal measure. Thank you. That night, after Laura's asleep and the girls are in bed, I sit in Mrs. Voss's study, my study now, and think about the journey that brought me here. A year ago, I was a failed businessman sleeping in a motel room, serving burgers to people who pitied me. Tonight, I'm sitting in a mansion worth millions of dollars, with full custody of my daughters and my ex-wife, sleeping down the hall because she has nowhere else to go. It's not the revenge I planned. It's better. Because Laura isn't my enemy anymore. She's just someone who made bad choices and lost everything because of them. Someone who has to live every day knowing that the man she threw away became everything she thought she wanted. I don't hate her. I don't love her either. But I don't need to because I've already won. My daughters are happy and healthy. My business is thriving. My life is exactly what I want it to be. And Laura? Laura gets to watch it all from the sidelines, knowing she gave it up for a man who abandoned her the moment things got difficult. That's not revenge. That's justice. And sometimes justice is the sweetest revenge of all. The end.